Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Galloway and today we will be making some cinnamon and sugar scones. They are delicious and simple to make. In order to make these scones, we will use the biscuit method. This method is commonly used for biscuits and scones. It involves mixing dry ingredients, cutting in the shortening, mixing the wet into the dry, and lightly kneading. It is essential that we lightly knead to avoid tunneling, which is a result of overmixing the batter. It creates large elongated holes and toughness inside the scones. We want a nice tender scone. So let's get to it. So today for our mise en place, we are going to need a liquid measuring cup for the milk. We're going to need the measuring cups and the measuring spoons for some of our dry ingredients. We'll use the whisk to sift our dry ingredients, and I don't have a pastry cutter, so today we're going to use a fork and 2 bowls, one for the wet ingredients and then another for the dry ingredients. So today for our measurements, it's very simple. We will need 2½ cups of all-purpose flour, a tablespoon of baking powder, a ½ teaspoon of salt, 8 tablespoons of cold unsalted butter, a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 2/3 cup of milk, and then some cinnamon and sugar for sprinkling on at the end. So I've added in my flour, salt, and baking powder, and now it is necessary to sift together the dry ingredients so that the flour gets spaced out and away from each other so it takes up a lot more volume than it used to. Sifting also allows all the ingredients to get mixed up and evenly distributed within each other. This allows for a nice gluten formation. Now that we have sifted together the dry ingredients thoroughly, we have cut our shortening and we're going to put it into the wet batter, and we're going to cut it in with a pastry cutter. So for those of you like me who don't have a pastry cutter, you can use a fork to cut in the fat until you get a nice fine granulated batter. Now that it's all fine and granulated, we can add in our sugar and mix well until it is evenly distributed. The next step involves combining the liquid into the dry ingredients. It is important that we wait to add the liquid into the dry ingredients so that the dry ingredients are properly mixed and distributed. Now we will add our milk into the rest of the batter. Now we will use a fork to lightly stir in order to combine the wet into the dry ingredients until a dough ball forms. It is essential that we don't overmix the batter to avoid overmixing the gluten and causing tunneling. We want our scones to be nice and tender rather than tough. Once we have our dough ball, we will take it out and lay it on the counter and with some flour to prevent sticking, and we will knead the dough about 8 to 10 times to avoid the overdevelopment of gluten. Once the dough is kneaded, we'll roll the ball out into a circle in order to cut with the pizza cutter. Once you have your dough out on the counter in the shape of a circle, just take a pizza cutter and cut it 3 ways, so we'll get 6 different scones. So today we got lucky and were able to make an extra cut, so now we have 8 different scones to eat instead of just 6. So now we will get a baking pan with a greased parchment lined paper and evenly place out our slices. So now for the best part, I've combined some cinnamon and sugar in a separate bowl, and we're going to sprinkle this on each wedge so each has tons of flavor. So I've preheated the oven to 425 degrees and it's all ready. So we're going to put in our scones and we will check them in 12 minutes, and it's very important that we keep the oven closed the entire time so the hot steam can circulate and cook them all evenly. Once the scones are nice and golden brown, we can take them out and let them cool. Let's try them. Delicious. As you can see, my scone is nice and tender, and this is thanks to the biscuit method we used. Remember, sift the dry ingredients, knead lightly, and keep that oven door shut. We want a nice tender formation of gluten to complement these delicious scones. Thanks for watching!